Alrighty, folks. So we have Preppernurse1 on, and I'm going to go ahead and bring him on in. Now, the audio might be messed up for a second in the beginning. If it is, just give me a chance to get it straightened out. I will get it straightened out pretty quick. It's been like 2 years since I've done one of these. So anyway, let's see here. I do believe you should be on there, Preppernurse. Go ahead.
Hey everybody, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, were you getting that though?
I was.
Okay, and you still hear me okay?
Yep, I hear you fine.
Okay, good deal. Okay, looks like I did get it right.
Alright, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, you're going out.
Alright, cool.
Okay, so before we actually get started, you look towards the top there, you'll see a call-in number. You'll have to call in that number that might area code 717705311. Repeat that for those that were grabbing the phone. The number is 717705311. Access code number is going to be 74032 pound, and that's 47400 pound. Maybe anyway, let's go on ahead.
I'm doing very good. Thank you for having me on, first of all. I appreciate that. And I'm looking forward. This is my first time doing a call-in thing, so that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it. Well, like I said, I'm happy to be here. And like I said, I think it'll be interesting to, take some calls from viewers. Basically, I put my videos up and, people hear what I have to say, and that they have questions. A lot of times they put them in the comments, but unfortunately, the channel's gotten big really fast here this year, and so I can't get to every comment anymore. I try to get in and answer some, but there's a lot of other stuff obviously going on. But with this kind of a forum, it gives people a chance if they have a specific question that they want to ask, that they can call in and ask me, and I think that's pretty neat. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I know I try to be honest. I say it like it is. Some people like that, some people don't. But I can only be me, and it's just sharing our life here and what we're doing, and basically showing everybody that this is possible.
Right, I hear you there. Apparently, people couldn't hear me, but they could hear you. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes when it comes back through. Can you hear an echo or anything?
Nope, not at all. I hear everything just fine.
Okay, well, then I was apparently doing everything right the first time before I unclicked that. So sorry about that.
Not a problem.
So, did you have anything in particular that you wanted to talk about?
Anybody that wants to call in and have a question, I'm more than happy to answer. We can just do that. We can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. If you have questions for me, I can answer those as well.
Good deal, good deal. And that number and access code is up there. And sometimes it takes a little while for people to start calling in. I am monitoring the screen, so anybody that calls in, I will see you. And when you call in, and in fact, I forgot to do this, so give me 1 second. I'm going to do this. It'll tell you muted, but I'll unmute you as quick as my finger can reach it.
All participants are muted.
Okay, there we go. You should be back. Maybe not. Hang on.
There we go. So I'm muted now.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. I must have clicked the wrong one. So when you call in,
right,
it will tell you...
Question.
it will tell you that you are muted. So it's not a big deal. Just you know, what we'll do is we'll go through the list one at a time, and that way it won't be just some giant scream fest.
Well, I just saw Smitty asked a question asking me where I live. I am in New York, so that's where we're at. And people have a misconception when I say New York City. But I live about 400 miles away from New York City. New York State is a very, very big state. A lot of country in New York State.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty awesome area out there. Are you by any mountains or anything?
We're actually, we are in the foothills of the Appalachian mountain chain. So we're the beginning part of, or the end part, if you want to call it, northwise of the Appalachian mountain chain.
Wow, that would definitely be cool to live near. So
like I said, I love it. I mean, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say one of the things that I was going to ask you about, and I've watched quite a few, probably close to all of your videos. So I know your answers to these questions, but maybe everybody else doesn't. A lot of people out there, including myself, they usually have a particular target that they're prepping for. And now I'm prepping for more or less a grid down situation because of two reasons. For one, I think that's what's going to happen. And for two, if you prep for grid down, you're pretty much going to cover all the bases. So just kind of wondering, I know that you prep for like just any type of emergency, even the times like you came on and made a video because all your neighbors were out of power. Yet you had power because you're off grid. And I know you prep for just everyday things like that. Is there anything else, like anything in particular like that you expect?
There's, you know, with that, there's so many different scenarios of things that could happen. That's actually pretty scary if you think about it. There could be some kind of pandemic, some kind of bug that gets out that could devastate and kill a lot of people. And I don't care if you're a prepper or not. That's something that could affect you directly as well, unfortunately. Also, you know, Yellowstone National Park is a supervolcano underneath it, which a lot of people are unaware of. A lot of people are aware of it as well, but it's just that's something that's also a very scary situation. You know, there could be another asteroid impact that hits the Earth, you know, that they didn't see in time, and it could be devastating to the planet. I mean, there's so many different variables that could happen that, like I said, I'm a big believer in prep for the worst and hope for the best.
I hear you there. That's pretty much all we can do. I don't know if you've seen when I added a couple of the decals. One of them I added earlier today was Got Kids. Oh, I was going to put your site up instead of mine. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yours is up now. One of the designs that I had added today, and I'm not trying to promote or anything, but it has to do with something that we've talked about on the phone. But it's the one I'm bringing up on screens now. It simply says, "Got kids? Why aren't you prepping?" You know, I would think that oh, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, you know what? That's actually a fantastic point. And it was the number one reason that got me started in prepping in the first place. And I'm going to go back and tell a little story. When I was, when Hurricane Katrina hit down in New Orleans, okay, and it also affected, you know, Louisiana and everything else as well down there. But, you know, everybody's focus has always been on New Orleans. And the response of the government, I remember sitting in my house going, oh, my God, if something happened, how am I going to take care of my children? And that was really the first motivator for me that got me prepping, was thinking, I'm a responsible parent. I need to be the one taking care of my children and not looking for a handout from the government and waiting for them to take care of me. I need to take care of myself. And so that was really my first motivation with prepping, and that's what got me started.
Right on. That's understandable. I don't know if you have chat up, but there is somebody that has a question for you.
Okay. Oh, I see. What type of animals would you consider having on your farm? Is that was a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What we actually plan on having, we're adding 2 dogs. They will be 4 more weeks, and we'll have the puppies here. My neighbor had a litter of dogs, and the dogs are half German Shepherd and half Collie. So they're a beautiful couple of puppies that we picked out. Heather picked out one, and I picked out one. She picked out the runt, and then I picked out, which was a female, and I picked out a male. So those will be added to the homestead soon. This year we plan on adding chickens as well to the homestead as soon as the chicken coop is built, which is on the project list of this year. We will be adding goats in the future. I'm going to be adding Senna goats. They're a goat that's used to a mountainous region. They're a really good-sized goat. We do plan on having meat rabbits as well. And from that point on, you know, we may end up adding like a pig in the spring, raising it up all year and butchering it in the fall, and, you know, doing something like that as well. But we will definitely be adding more animals to the homestead.
Good deal, good deal. And we do have a caller in here, so let me go ahead and bring them on. Area code 603, you're on the air.
Hello? How you doing, Prep?
Yep, you're here. I'm sorry.
How you doing, Prepper Nurse?
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Wow, this is amazing. I watch you every night. I'm not sure how to subscribe, but I grew up in Victor, New York. I moved to New Hampshire. I'm a prepper. I like your personality.
Thank you. Yeah, I know Victor. I used to live in Greece. You know where Greece, New York is?
Oh, yeah, right outside of Rochester, yeah.
Yep, the other way from Greece. I mean, from Victor, I mean. But, yeah, so, yep, it's you know, it's not a bad area, and for the most part, and Victor's a beautiful area out there. So how long have you been in New Hampshire?
20 years now.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But it's funny because growing up in New York, I have the same personality as you, or a like personality as you, and tell it like it is, and that's kind of why I like watching you every night.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know what? I don't know how to be any other way. You know, I know that I piss some people off and I offend other people, but I kind of like that's their problem. You know, I say it from my point of view, and I try to be honest, and I'm not attacking people. That's not what my intention is at all. I just, you know, putting it out there and just telling people the way it is. And like I said, if you know, I had a lot of people early on say a lot of negative things, and my response to them was, if you don't like what I'm doing or what I'm saying on my channel, don't watch my channel. I don't care one way or the other, you know. So I always found that interesting.
No, that's definitely, I like, you know, that's definitely the way you should be and speak your mind, but you're not offending anybody by having your own personality and your own opinion on situations.
Well, thank you.
But, all right, that was about it. I just wanted to relay that I grew up in New York. My personality is a lot like yours, and that's why I watch you every night.
Well, thank you very much, and keep prepping. Don't stop. That's the important thing.
All right, well, you know, keep being true to yourself. Keep being cool, and we'll watch you tomorrow night.
All right, sounds great. Thank you very much. Thanks for the call.
All right, peace out.
All right, we'll see you.
That's awesome.
So we're waiting on other people to call in?
Yep. Has there been any more questions, hon? They actually added a cool little feature, believe it or not, a real cool small feature that helps a lot on this conference call thing. It makes a little noise when somebody calls in. They didn't have that before.
Oh, okay. Well, I know somebody had asked why people think New York City when you say New York. So I'm going to tell another story real quick. So in the meantime, so people can hear this. Right out of high school, I went into the military. I went into the Army, and I did my basic and AIT out in Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. So we flew into St. Louis Airport, and then we had to jump on a bus and take a nice long bus ride out to Fort Leonard Wood. And so when you got to post, you know, you had people from all over the country, basically. And so people would say, oh, where are you from? And I would say, oh, I'm from New York. And every time, oh, New York City, huh? And I used to be like, No, New York is way bigger than New York City. But for whatever reason, a lot of people associated New York with New York City. And, you know, and I used to, when I would tell people, I said, I grew up out in the country. And they'd be like, really? You know, so that was always kind of a funny thing.
Oh, I hear you there. I mean, you know, when you tell people that you're from Illinois, everybody thinks Chicago. And it's like where we live, it's nothing like Chicago. In fact, you know, I've been saying if Trump or whoever wants to build a wall, can't we practice like around Chicago first? It would be nice. We'd like to be our own state.
Right, right. Well, we've always said the rest of New York is a lot of us up here in upstate New York has said they could take New York City and chop that off and make it its own area, and the rest of the state would be in much better better situation.
We're in the same way. We've got they could almost be carbon copy states, really.
Yep, yep. You have like one area that's associated with the whole state, and people think that is, you know, the state when it's not even close.
Right, exactly. I mean, the rest of Illinois compared to Chicago, it's like really laid back, really calm, and nothing but like farmland for the most part. It's not, and I'm sure New York is the same way.
Oh, I see somebody has another question here. Tim James asked, will you ever extend your garden and start a canning food to add to your preps? Well, if you watched our videos from last fall, we actually did applesauce last fall. And the game plan is I plan on putting in some greenhouses. I'm hopefully going to get one up this year. That's on my list to get done this year. And I definitely do plan on doing more canning this year. I want to get greenhouses in because it's more of a controlled environment, which is going to be better. If you have like a tremendous amount of rain or too much sun and it's too hot, you can really control your plants a lot better and give them a better opportunity to produce. So yes, we definitely are planning on doing more gardening, hopefully getting the greenhouse in this year. And also we're definitely going to be doing a lot more canning this year, canning more vegetables and stuff like that. That is definitely on the game plan.
Right on. And Smitty's got a comment or a question. And we had another call come in.
Okay.
Which one you want to take first? Smitty asked, I think SHTF, I think he means will be this year. What's your thoughts?
You know what? I don't make predictions. I really don't. I honestly, my thought is I wish it will never happen. Do I believe it will happen? Absolutely, I believe it will happen. And realistically, I think that basically what's going to happen is one day it's going to be like today, just a normal, beautiful day here, where we had anyway in New York. And the next day you're going to wake up and like the lights will be out, and it's going to be all different. I think it'll be that quick when it happens. Unfortunately, I hope for more time. I'm hoping that it's not this year, but you can never tell. You just don't know.
Right on. And Melissa said something that I'll repeat real quick. I have the same thoughts, Melissa. I'm myself am and I don't want to use the term Christian. I'll use the term spiritual. I'm a very, very firm believer. No, he's never, not one time has Preppernurse1 ever offended me, and that's awesome. We have another call. We'll go ahead and take it real quick. Area code, let's see, area code 937. You're on.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Preppernurse1. This is Becky Dean from the chat here.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Becky. How are you?
Doing good. Calling from Ohio here. I wanted to kind of give you a background where I'm at now and then ask where you would proceed.
Okay.
Okay, so I grew up a farm girl, grew up pretty self-sufficient in 4-H, self-sufficient, learning the circle of life, hunting and everything. So I'm a prepper for EMP specifically, but a prepper just basically for self-sufficiency.
That's good.
And we currently are wanting to sell our house and make that move. We only have 2 acres, so we're wanting to move to at least 10 acres.
Okay.
But the move process, what is hard is just the starting off, the cabin part, the getting the plumbing and everything. It's not really a prepper question as much as moving off-grid question type of thing.
Okay.
Do you have any solar experience?
When I got started, to be honest with you, I did not have a lot. And I basically learned quite a bit. I actually, if you would go back and look at some of my earlier videos, you'll see that I got a lot of advice, and I'm going to give him a shout-out real quick. Bill and Rose Off-Grid. I talked with Bill on several occasions, and he has been off-grid longer than I have, and so he gave me some really fantastic advice. And I took that advice and I ran with it, I'll be honest. And, and then here's the biggest thing, the biggest advice that I could give anybody that is starting out, that's getting going, okay, is when you're doing solar or whatever, you're going to make mistakes, okay? Watch a lot of videos, watch preppers that have said, hey, this was wrong, I screwed this up, this is how I did it right. Go by the people that know what they're doing. Go by the people that have been doing it for years, okay? Like Bill and Rosa is a great resource. Bill is a fantastic guy. He will talk to anybody. Great advice, like I said. And I learned a lot from him, and I've taken that experience, and continued to enhance it here at the homestead. And but the thing is, the hands-on experience that you will receive by doing things yourself, that is invaluable for a couple of reasons, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, when SHTF happens, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, you will have the practical practice. And what I mean by that is you have that experience because you've been doing it yourself, and you'll know how to fix things, and you know how to work it. Now, like I said, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to people that have been doing it, asking for advice. That's a smart thing to do. Anybody that doesn't do that, I don't think that that's a smart thing to do. I just think, well, I can just do it on my own. You can't. Nobody can. So that's what the beauty of YouTube is, and the number of people out there that are really, truly helpful, that are willing to help other people. And that's a big part of what I've always wanted to do, is help other people, teach other people, show people that this is possible, and you don't have to be afraid to do it.
I love your answer to that, because we firmly believe that we will not we can't afford, first of all, to pay professionals. And we've made like small models just to learn how to heat water, to make sure that, different types of ways to do that. And we've also figured out something for our horse water tank here, but not on a large scale. I know how many, how much energy, how many times I'd use, how much the washer, the ceiling fan, certain things would cost, but I'm not willing to pay a professional to come out and do what I can buy parts for and put together myself, I think.
That's smart. That absolutely. And like I said, and you reach out to the people in the YouTube community, people will help. They really, truly will. They'll, give you good advice. They'll tell you, what to do. And here's the biggest thing, too. It's like you start out small, and it always comes down to, and this is what I try to explain to people a lot, too, it's want and need. What do I want to have, and what do I need to have? And so you have to kind of build up.
Priority. We can live off gas lights and, electrical. We have a heating stove, a wood stove that you can cook on. So electrical is not priority. Water will be priority. Right.
Yeah, and if you start out with a smaller system and, you find it's working or it's not working, it's always something that you can build onto. Add more panels, and just do it as you can, because that's what we've done here. I don't know how long you've been watching, but that's what we did here.
I just noticed just recently you added panels, I think. I saw that.
Yeah, I added a couple more panels this spring. What we're going to be doing this year is I'm getting a solar rack as soon as I get my state return back, and we're going to be putting in a solar mount rack. And I have 3 more panels to add on to that. But if you go back and you look and see when we first moved up here, and all we had was our camper, we started out with 750 watts of solar on a 12-volt system, okay? So we did not have a big system. Now, we did have a backup generator. I think that that's very, very important to have, okay?
Yeah.
Yep. So
That's what we've been doing for like years, is collecting everything we need to be off grid.
Okay.
That's so we don't have to buy it all at once. Different things. We bought the generator. We're just ready to buy the land, I think, and we're worried about water. Of course, that's going to be, because drilling for a well's expensive, and finding a good year-long spring. Well,
if you can find a property that already has a well in place, that is a huge bonus. I mean, because I know for us, the property had a well in place. We had to access it and do that, and that took us about a year. After we were here a year with no running water. And so then once we got that part in where we had running water, it's such a huge, huge difference. I mean, people have no idea. People have no idea.
We're looking. Well, thank you so much for your help. I appreciate it.
Anytime, you're very welcome. Thank you.
And Mike, appreciate you too. Shout out to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
All right, and I know we do have another caller on the line here. There was a couple questions in the chat, so I'm going to try to catch those questions and throw them at you real quick. One of them, I'm only seeing one of them. One of them was asking about underground, I believe, bunkers.
You know what? I think that's a very good idea. Number one, you should have cold storage underground no matter what anyway. So that is definitely something that is on my list of things that I want to do here. An underground bunker is definitely a good idea, too, in case there was some kind of nuclear attack with fallout, with radiation and stuff like that. Now, here's something I don't think a lot of people know. If there was a nuclear attack and it was radiation, people like your age and my age, Mike, we would be the ones that would actually want to be the ones going out foraging, getting things and stuff like that. The younger generation, we would want to keep them underground. And the reason is, by the times the effect of the radiation killed us, which could take up to 20 years, our lifespan would probably be pretty much over at that point anyway. So you're going to want to protect the younger people. So I think having an underground bunker is a smart thing to do if you can do it.
I agree. You're kind of fading in and out a little bit, but it'll probably come back. Let's go ahead and take this. What's that?
No, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's not your fault. not unless you're chopping down the cell phone tower.
No.
All right. Let's see here. Area code 843. You're on.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, I got a question.
Go
okay.
Ahead.
How long you been prepping?
Oh, well, when did Katrina happen? Was that, I'm trying to think, was that like 2000? I can't remember exactly when that was. That's when I got really started. Here's the thing, as far as prepping goes, and this is kind of funny that you kind of say it like that. My grandparents were Depression era people, so they always had a stacked pantry. That was very normal for a good amount of food on hand to have that stocked pantry. So as an adult, I always had a pretty decent amount of food on hand anyway, just because that's how I grew up. So it was normal to me to do that. After Katrina, when I saw what happened with Katrina, that's when I really, really got going more hardcore into prepping, if you will, because I started thinking, my goodness, if something happens and like the insanity of the stuff that happened down there, and I wanted to have some place away from where we were living at the time because I knew we would not be safe in suburbia when something went down. So that was a big part for me to get a place that was away from the city and away from suburbia. And so that's when I really, like I said, got going with that. And I read a book at one point, and the guy had said in this book, and I can't remember the name of the book to be honest with you, but he had said, if you can live on your retreat full time, do it. He goes, because then all your supplies are already in place. And it really resonated with me, and it really stuck with me, because I used to think, because if you look back at my older videos when I was in the basement of the house in Greece, and I had all that food and everything there, I used to always think that if something happens, we're going to load up her car, and we're going to load up my car, and we're going to go to the property. And that's all we're going to have. I'm going to leave so much behind, and that used to be really something that bothered me. So I really got started hardcore after Katrina, but I would have to say I've always been a prepper because I've been gardening my whole life, and I've always had some form of a stock pantry.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I started prepping at age 13.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I start early. Yeah, I'm on YouTube. I do prepper videos about my bug-out bag.
I know who this is then.
Yeah,
go ahead and tell everybody who. Go ahead and tell everybody who you are so that they can go check your channel out.
I'm Rodriguez Perry. I got a YouTube channel, and it's exactly what my name is. I do like live streams about prepping and shit hits the fan.
Right.
And I also have a lot of survival food. I have like Legacy. I have Mountain House, Backpacker Pantry. I have a lot of survival gear. And I want to get new gear. I'll show it on YouTube and voice my opinions on there and let other people voice their opinions on there.
That's cool.
And I have a bug out location I'll go to every weekend, but I'll do it on camera.
That's cool. Very cool. Privacy. No, I understand that.
Yeah, but I like off-gridding, and that's the idea I like. So homesteading is a good one, so I might try that.
Yeah, it's definitely rewarding.
Yeah, so I do watch your YouTube channel.
Well, thank you.
When you come on then. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Channel. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I got another question.
Sure.
What gear do you have for prepping?
Oh, I have so much stuff I couldn't even begin to break the list down. I have all kinds of stuff. I mean, I've done a lot of videos on stuff. I mean, I have bug out bags for everybody in the family that if we had to bug out, we could bug out. And I think probably the most important gear that people need to make sure that they have with them if they can do it at any one time is some kind of either a utility knife or a utility tool, or like I say, a Swiss Army knife, a lighter of some sort.
Go ahead. I have two fucking knives. Oh yeah, go ahead. I'll come with you, Don.
No, okay. So I'm just, having stuff to be able to start a fire and those type of stuff, having the skill to learn to know how to start a fire, and it's sad to say that a lot of people don't even have that skill anymore. So it's knowing what to do and how to do those things. That's real important. And those skills, learning the skills and practicing those skills is real important.
It's real important. So I have two pocket knives. I have I think I got like the means to top the fence. I have a compound bow. I have what do I have? I have a folding saw. I have a survival stove. What do you call it? A UFT survival stove. It's a folding stove.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
And I have like what's that trail pots and pans. I have that. It's a lot of gears. I'm not gonna name all day, but
right.
Yeah.
Smart to have. Very smart to have.
Yeah, I practice my bug out. I practice my survival skills every weekend. So I'm working. I already know the basics. So I'm working on another survival skills I'm working on here. So it's taking a lot of time out of my day. So
Right.
So how you deal with that? Like not just prepping, but how you deal. For me, I think I have prepping anxieties. I can't stop prepping. I feel like I'm addicted or something.
It can be very addictive. It can be very consuming, but you still, in my opinion, prepping is definitely one of my priorities, which, I mean, anybody that follows my channel knows it's a huge priority for me. But also still living life while we still have this to live before things go to total crap. I think that that's important, too. Taking that time out to enjoy life, to spend time with, like I said, the people that you love and that you care about, doing stuff,
Right.
you know, like, you know, even if it's a cookout or if it's going to a movie or whatever, you still have to take that time at this point and still go do those things.
Right. So do you have a fire steel?
Do I have what now?
A fire steel. It's like the way to for you to stop fires.
Oh, fire. Well, you know what? We have fire extinguishers, and I do have, you know, some training with that. Not as much as I probably should have, but yeah, you know, I mean, I'm ready to deal with a fire if we had to deal with a fire.
He was saying a fire steel, like a ferro rod.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
exactly.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, my fault. Yes, I have those as well. I have multiple ways of starting a fire, many different ways.
Yeah, I have a fire steel, and I also have waterproof matches. That's also good to use.
Well, that's good. They're definitely good to have.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Oh, thank you for your answers. So.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for the questions.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. You have a good night.
All right. You too.
Alrighty, you guys were talking. You're not gonna believe this. I actually went into the other room into my bug out bag and actually pulled out my you know, something I've never messed with, and that's I've never messed with even trying to light. Like I've got cotton balls that's got Vaseline on them and stuff, and never even tried it, you know. And although I did when Evil Rick, the moderator here, he's the one that gave me the little kit I've got in my lap here, and it's funny because I'd never tried to actually light char cloth, and I think it was the last time he was here, he brought out some char cloth, and I actually for the first time lit char cloth. It was it was pretty killer. What, babe? Oh, okay. It's coming up for me. Thank you, Smitty. I just seen that super chat there. We have a question from a Colorado prepper, but I'm waiting for it to, unless you see it already. Oh, I see it now.
I was doing my duties as a doorman for my cat, so I apologize. I had to walk away a second.
Oh, that's okay. I've got it. I've got it here now. It's what do you think of those people that assume everyone in the preparedness community is a conspiracy nut and or crazy? Why do you think they think that, or why do they think that?
I think that's perpetuated by the media a lot when you look at shows like Doomsday Preppers, and I think there's a misconception with that. And like so. With Doomsday Preppers, what they would do is they would come to these people and say, listen, we're going to put you on this show and blah, 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 but you have to pick only one reason why you're prepping. So then when they would do the show, they break down and show how, you know, ridiculous this reason is and how it probably will never happen in the probability. So that's where a lot of the misconception of the preppers are crazy, or they pick people out like, I don't know if you ever saw the episode, there was a guy that was saying that they were going to be marauders and they were going to steal preps from other preppers. That was their whole goal. And so after that show aired and stuff like that, it turned out that he was a convicted pedophile that was not allowed to have weapons, and he was sent back to prison. So, I mean, I think that they would look for people that they could try to manipulate and make it look like they were crazy. So people had this misconception that, you know, anybody that was prepared-mindedness was crazy. But what they don't realize is that their generation of grandparents back in the 20s and the 30s, everybody gardened, everybody canned, everybody did these things, and it was a way of life. Because there wasn't the big chain grocery stores where you could just walk into like a Wegmans here in New York and get whatever you want anytime you want, or Walmart and get whatever you want anytime you want. You know, it was a day when people really, you know, worked hard to do what they did. And so, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, hang on just a second. That was on my end. I'm waiting for my audio to come back up.
Oh, okay.
They can hear you. Okay, now I can hear myself too. Sorry about that.
Okay, no, not a problem. So I think that's the reason how, you know, people had that misconception, because it's perpetuated in the media. So here's the thing is, you want to call me crazy, that's fine. I'm only crazy until something happens, then I'm the smartest guy in the room. That's what I always tell people. So, you know, people are going to think what they're going to think. Don't listen to what other people think. If you feel in your heart that you need to do this and prepare to make sure that your family's taken care of, that is a very, very, very smart thing to do, in my opinion. Okay, and yes, I'm a prepper, and I'm probably in the upper echelon of preppers because I do live off grid, and I'm doing everything and continuing to work here to make things even better. The thing is that, which I think a lot of people don't understand because they just think prepper, I'm reducing my footprint. I'm lightening up my bills so that my expenses are not astronomical like they used to be in my life. I have a lot less stress in my life, and my life is a lot more peaceful. So that's a big part of it for me as well.
Right. I agree with you totally on that. We had another question. I know that Colorado Biker Prepper, I think, is the nickname. Let's see. He did comment that he had Doomsday Preppers approach him. I'm trying to find it back here. Here we go. The producers for Doomsday Preppers approached him, and he thought they were very dishonest. But we do have another question, which is, hi Ed, how do you feel about fish mocks and such meds for antibiotics for SHTF, safe to take in SHTF scenarios? Now, before you answer, I do want to throw this in here. I just recently had a urinary tract infection, and I knew exactly what I was dealing with because I was familiar with it from before. And that's exactly what I did. I got the Cipro, it was the Cipro. And I'll tell you what, I double checked, I looked, and it's the exact same pill that I would have gotten if I would have went to a doctor and got a prescription and went to the pharmacy. I mean, it was the same exact pill. But I'll let you go ahead and answer your thoughts on that.
You know, it's funny that you said that because it's actually what I was going to say. If you look with the fish antibiotics, like you said, with the Cipro, it is the exact thing that is prescribed by the doctor, but you get it, and you get as much of it as you want, prescribed for fish. It's the exact same thing. I think it's very, very smart. I think it's very, very important to have on hand. It's something that I need to add to my preps too. I'll be honest with you. I don't have any on hand at the moment. So that is one place that I'm definitely lacking. I'm going to be getting some. That is absolutely on my list here, in my short list. I have many lists, but that's on a very short list. Antibiotics are going to be a very, very, very huge and important thing once SHTF happens, because a minor cut could kill you. So to be able to have those antibiotics on hand, use in an emergency situation, very, very smart to have. And yes, the antibiotics are the exact same thing. If you look at them, they're exactly the same. Definitely get as much as you possibly can on hand.
Okay, you were starting to break up for some of that.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's not your fault. And Melissa had asked where you can buy it, and I know Jen answered in the chat, but I'll answer in audio as well. I got mine from eBay, and there's several other pet websites and stuff online that does not require a prescription in order to get it. So online, eBay is a good place.
Yep, that's exactly fine. Go to the pet store online, and you can get it right there.
Okay, and there was another question here. Preppernurse1, how do you get to trust people in your group with security during and after SHTF? Asked a similar question earlier, but I think it got overlooked. And I want to say sorry about that, Spartan. I'm trying to keep up. Jen's trying to keep up. So if anybody out there, if your question doesn't get answered, just keep asking it. Just keep asking it, and or otherwise call in.
Okay, so as far as security goes, if there's any way ahead of an SHTF situation that you can put any kind of a group together, you want to do that. You need to have a good core group of people that you can trust 100%. That's really, really important. Now, after an SHTF event, so this is nothing new. You're going to have definitely people added to your group that you never expected to be in your group, okay? So as far as security goes and stuff like that, I'm not from day one had some here's when you're on WAP. If they haven't told me to trust or if I have you know, I my gut feeling a lot. So if they're going to have, that's something that they would have to, over time, they build up that trust. You're going to have your core group of people that you know that you can trust. Those are to be the people that you're going to have on watch and stuff like that in the beginning. And as people earn that trust over time, then I would say then you add them into that mix as far as security and stuff like that goes.
Right, and I agree. And are you walking around out there, or?
No, actually, I was. Maybe I'll go outside. Let's go outside. Maybe it's a little bit clearer. Hold on.
Can you climb on top of your roof?
It's a beautiful evening out here anyway, so why not? Okay, so is that better?
Yeah, that sounds much clearer so far. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, there's certain places in the house that it doesn't do as well with the phone.
Oh yeah, I hear you there. And you know, one question, I do have a question for you. Okay. So, and you probably answered this in a video, or if not several videos. But it's about, okay, you've got two teenagers. How are they as far as acclimated? Do they think you're nuts, or are they on board, or how do they feel about prepping?
They're definitely on board. You know, they don't think I'm nuts. They just think I'm dad. This has been basically their whole lives. I've always been a prepper their whole life, so it's nothing new. You know, yes, we don't live the same as everybody else, but I think that my children are smart enough to realize, you know, from when they were really young, I was working all the time, so I didn't get to see them as much. But as, you know, they've gotten older and I've reduced my debt and got into a situation where we are now here at the homestead, they're seeing that I'm having more of that time to spend with them, to be with them. And I'm going to tell you what, and I've said this in videos, you cannot get time back. Once they're grown and gone, they're gone. So those formative years, do you want your children to remember you that, oh yeah, dad was just at work all the time and we never saw him? Or do we want the children to remember the times that you spent and the quality time and helping them with homework or just being there to talk to them or whatever in those type of situations? That's the biggest thing too. And I think that they They know that they're my whole world. I tell them every day that they're my whole world. It's just a normal thing for them. I believe, like with my son has autism, so, he doesn't always get everything as well as Heather does, but Heather gets it, and she understands why.
Right on, right on. You do have a question in chat, and I'll just relay them to you. You're sounding way better now.
Yeah, I'm outside, so I can't see anything anymore.
You're blind. Let's see. Rob Marks asks, let's see, what other militias do you recommend?
What other what?
Militias.
Oh, militias. I would say look into your 3% groups in your state. Every state has a 3% group. Connect with them. And the biggest thing is when you're dealing with any group, go with your gut. If you feel that they're not what you want to be involved in, don't be involved with them, okay? If you like what they're doing and like where they're headed and what they're about, then absolutely get involved. But who's to say you can't start your own militia? So I mean, the thing is, it's getting yourself in some place and getting with people that you trust and that you're like-minded. That's a real important part of it too. And, you're going to have your groups out there. And I mean, this is a reality. You're going to have your all white groups. You're going to have your all black groups. You're going to have your all Asian groups, and you're going to have your all Hispanic groups. And they're not going to want to have other people of other colors in that group, which is unfortunate, but that is the way it is. Then you're going to have other groups that it's going to be an integrated mix of people, which I think is a better off mentally, number one, and two, it gives it a diversity of different ideas and different cultures that maybe that they can bring something to the table that you didn't even think about.
Oh, I agree with you totally. That and that reminds me of and I shouldn't be humored by somebody's misfortune, but I remember watching a Doomsday Prepper episode. And by the way, I don't recommend anybody actually watch those shows if you want to learn something. But there was a guy who married a woman that came in out of the country. I can't remember exactly from where. And it was crazy because he thought that she would be like the perfect apocalypse partner. And because she already lived in an area to where, they had struggles and stuff like that. And it was kind of crazy because I guess he didn't really think it all the way through, because when she came to the United States, she didn't want to go out and live in the sticks and live off the land. She was in the U.S. She wanted to live like most people live in the U.S. So
that's funny.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't like laughing at somebody's misfortune, but it's like, well, you didn't quite think that all the way through. I don't think she really knew, if I recall right, I don't think she really knew that he was a prepper.
Oh, okay. Well, when you do mail order brides type of thing, buyer beware. That's all I'm going to say with that.
Right, exactly. I'm trying to see here if there's has there been any more questions in the chat? And my thoughts on the militia thing, be very, very careful, because most militias have been compromised. So just keep that in mind. In other words, I'm not saying don't get involved with one, but what I'm saying is, if and when you do get involved with one, don't put your cards on the table to the folks in that militia. Don't, have your own OPSEC separate from the militia's OPSEC.
That makes sense. Very smart. Very smart. Well, yeah, because the government's going to want to see what they're all about and what their true intentions are. And so, yeah, a lot of those groups are very, very compromised.
Exactly. Okay, I got another question here from CB. Preppernurse1, would you buy more property so you can grow more vegetables, more space for animals, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. I have the property next to me is about 3 acres, and I am hoping to purchase that. And I definitely down the road I want to add more property in this area buying more property, just so that we can, for either building other buildings, adding more gardening or whatnot. Yes, absolutely. That is definitely, other things that I definitely plan on doing in the future.
Right on. You got another You got another question here, and I'm going to repeat it word for word. Preppernurse1,
okay.
What are you going to do if liberal whiners demand that you share your food with them?
Well, first of all, they wouldn't be anywhere near the property in the first place. They will be stopped way before then, and that's not going to happen. No, if you here's my biggest thing. I tell everybody that they should prep, okay? And if I have talked to you in the past and told you that, you should prep, that you should get ready, and you basically laughed at me and made it a big joke behind my back, what makes those type of people think that I'm going to help them once an SHTF situation? And they can demand all they want, but they're going to be shown the road, and that's all they're going to be shown. So, yeah, those type of people will not be helped unless they have a fantastic skill set that can be useful to the group. But I can't see too many liberals being of a benefit to what we're doing here.
Right. And Mailman Farms had said, "Hi, Ed. How do you find people to be in a group you can trust?" ? This is Billy and Annie, I guess, in Western Maine.
Okay. Basically, you have to weed people out. You have to feel them out. Like I said, I go with my gut quite a bit. I read people very, very well. And a lot of times I can tell if somebody's full of crap or if they're not, or if they have good intentions or they don't. So basically what I do is, for myself, what I normally do with people is I will meet with them first, someplace not on site, obviously, have coffee, sit down and talk, and kind of get a feel for that person. And after we do that, then after that I may invite them up to my property. Or if I've talked to them on the phone and I got a good feel for what I think they are, how they are, I might invite them up, okay? Then after that, it's a trial period. You have people over, and you might work on some projects together, and you just kind of see where they're at, and you do a lot of talking, lots of talking with people. And, excuse me, that's really how I do it. I go with my gut a lot. I really do. And my gut, honestly, has never been wrong. And so I've met some really awesome people. I have talked to some very strange people. I am not going to lie. Not everybody in the prepper community is playing with a full deck of cards, but that's okay. It's like I said, you got to find out who you're comfortable with, and that's what it really comes down to. And if you're uncomfortable with somebody, you wouldn't want to bring them into your circle.
Right on. Hang on one sec. Okay, hon, start writing down names and questions if you can. Let's see. Spartan Live had asked, Preppernurse1, I've heard you mention the powers behind the government. Who do you think they are, and what is the end game?
I think the end game is total control. I honestly think what the powers behind the government, like you're talking, the George Soros is a billionaire and he has an agenda. You're talking the Rothschilds and those type of people. You're talking big money. That's who really true big money and big business. That's who runs this country. It isn't anybody in the White House. I can tell you that right now. If somebody in a pharmaceutical company doesn't like something, as we know, holistic doctors disappear and die or commit suicide in weird ways. They have an agenda, and I think the total agenda is total control. I think the agenda is depopulation of this planet. There are way too many people on this planet. I've said probably 20 years ago, and this is way before I was a prepper, I said to somebody, we need to have something happen on this planet that kills off about 90% of the world population because there's too many people. And the problem is, it's not so much that there's so many people, it's so many people that are not contributing to society. In the United States alone, we have 48% of the people in this country are on some form of assistance from the government, which is insane to me, okay? It's absolutely insane. So, and there's nothing wrong with somebody that needs help on a short-term event. I mean, I have nothing against that at all. But when people make it a lifestyle and are looking for, you know, a handout forever, I have an issue with that. But the thing is, it's like, so these people they're basically, what they're looking at is, I'm going to use this term, and I don't like to really use this term, useless eaters. Useless eaters are people that contribute nothing and do nothing but consume resources. So the powers that be want to depopulize this planet, not just the United States, but the entire planet, and get rid of a lot of these people. And I think that they have a game plan that they're implementing and putting in place, and that is their end goal. Right
on. Let's see. We got a couple more questions here in the chat. Thinking of others asks or says, please say the top skill set to study now to be helpful to a group.
The best skill sets that you can have to be helpful to a group is number one is have some form of medical knowledge. Be able to be proficient in firearms, know how to shoot. If you can get any kind of martial arts skill to be able to learn or teach hand-to-hand combat, also very helpful. Knowing wild edibles, knowing medicinal plants, which are good plants for using for medicine. Those are all hugely very important skills. Now, these are some that you're not going to really think about as a useful skill, but they are. Being able to sew, being able to knit, being able to mend clothes, because those are going to be things that are going to be important. Being able to fix shoes, being able, like being a cobbler, okay? You may not think that that's important, but that is going to be very important. Blacksmithing, another thing that would be hugely important in a post-event. There's a lot of really good skills out there that you could, learn now that are going to help you in a situation. Because here's the thing is, a lot of people that aren't prepared and aren't ready, or maybe they can't do it, but they could learn some skills, they could go up to a group and say, hey, listen, this is what I can bring to the table. And if you have the right skill sets, it's going to help that group. They are going to bring you in, and they're going to let you come into that group.
Right. Okay, let me, there was a question that we had missed, and I apologize, Donna. We will get to Cave Juice, your question next. Let me ask Donna's next, because apparently we missed hers. She says, hi from Ohio. My question got missed. Opinion on wind turbines. Thanks.
Okay, wind turbines, a lot of people tell me, oh, why don't you get wind turbines? Why don't you get wind turbines? A lot of moving parts with a wind turbine, a lot more likely to break down. Okay, so that's my issue with wind turbines, to be honest with you. To be able to have an efficient wind turbine, you have to be above your tree line. So whatever your tree line is, now here, if you guys have seen my videos of my property, my trees are about 120 feet high. So if I had to have a wind turbine up, I need to have a tower that's going to be higher than that, like by 20 to 30 feet higher, to get good wind. The problem with that is now that's a freaking magnet for everybody and their brother to see from a long distance away, number one. But the thing is, all the moving parts with a wind turbine is a lot more likely to break down. I think that, if you want to have one, it's not a bad idea to have a smaller one on a smaller scale. But it's more efficient to go with solar. It really, truly is. Longer term, if you add one more solar panel, that one solar panel is going to last you 30 years, okay? Where a wind turbine, there's no way it's going to last 30 years without breaking down.
Right on. I agree with you. Okay, we're trying to keep up here. Cave Juice 510 has a question. Preppernurse1, what's your view on using Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers for your rice and beans? And I'm listening from Bergen, New York. I love your channel.
Oh, Bergen, New York. You said it wrong, but that's okay. I know exactly where he's at.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I actually went to Byron Bergen, and I lived in Bergen when I was 5th grade. Lived right on the main drag in Bergen, so I know exactly where he's at, so that's pretty cool. What Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers, I definitely think that they're good to use, okay? I don't think that it's always necessary to use those, but it's another good way of storing stuff long term. I personally don't use Mylar bags, and I don't use oxygen absorbers. I basically, the way I do it, and if you guys have watched my videos, I vacuum seal everything, and once it's vacuum sealed, it goes into a 5-gallon bucket with another rubber seal on that bucket that seals them in again. They're stored in cool, dry places so that they're not exposed to the sun and stuff like that. Oxygen absorbers are awesome, great to use, and so are, like I said, Mylar bags are absolutely good to use too. Biggest thing that I would say, if you're going to store rice, beans, or whatever, make sure that you put them in a freezer for a week or 10 days, or maybe even 2 weeks first. So you're going to kill any bugs that are in larvae or, and stuff like that in your rice or in your beans and stuff like that.
Right on. Let's see here. Rob Marks has the question, how can we get organized enough should the liberals try to pull a gun grab? That's a scary thing with the gun grab thing. I'm going to give you my personal advice on this, and, you guys can take it for whatever you want to do with it. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just going to use a scenario. This is the way I'm going to describe this so that I don't get myself in trouble. If you have guns and they say we're confiscating all guns, or you have to turn in all guns, or you have to register guns, my advice to you would be to do none of the above. I would bury them. I would hide them. I would get as much ammunition as you could ahead of time, and I would bury and hide that as well. When SHTF happens, not a matter of if, but when SHTF happens, the laws are not going to matter anymore anyway. And so whatever you have at that point, it doesn't make any difference. We need to be able to protect ourselves, and that's really, really important. The liberals are coming after the guns. There's no question or no doubt about that. Hopefully that we have enough people with enough common sense in this country to not want to turn the rest of the country into New York City or Chicago, which have the stringent gun laws in the entire country and have the highest death totals, murder by guns in the entire country. So that tells you how well the gun laws do in those situations. Criminals are not going to follow the gun laws. That is a fact. It doesn't matter. Anybody that wants to get a gun right now, if you go to your local city, if you have enough money, you can get whatever you want to get if you got the cash, okay? Now, are you going to put yourself in harm's way to do that? That is your call. But I'm just saying it's too easy to get a gun. So if you have a gun legally and then they're going to try to change these laws, I would make them disappear and be ready. And when the time comes, you will be able to protect your family and your friends. I agree with you totally on that as well. And I will go a step further, folks, as I have before. Don't just put your weapon under the ground in a piece of PVC or something like that. Please, please take a sheet of lead, preferably, and lay over top of it. And the reason why is because they are flying over, and I suspect they can do it by satellite, and they can actually detect those weapons from the air in the ground. So you want to put something over that will kind of conceal it. Oh, okay.
Good advice.
Got a couple of comments and then a couple of more questions. Donna asked for the comment. Who's the comment? Which one? Oh, okay. Real quick, Robert Burke said, I listen to this man's videos every day. It's so cool to hear him live. Let's see. And Mailman Farms says, thank you for your answer, Ed. Also, I lived 3 years in Greece, New York, and got my BS at Brockport.
Very cool. Very nice.
And then
let him know. Let him know that actually my daughter is actually looking at Brockport to go to college. She wants to be a forensic pathologist. But she also wants to study chemistry, and they have a great program out there in Brockport. So she's actually looking into that to major in chemistry and minor in being a forensic pathologist.
Right on. Let's see here. Let me grab that one in just a second. CB says, what specific skill sets do you look for when letting people into your group?
it really depends. It's like here's a couple examples of things that I like to look for. If somebody's a mechanic and has that mechanical skills, that's important to me. Okay, is somebody like I got my one buddy is a machinist, so he brings that skill set because he's looking at things differently than I look at things. I love ex-military guys. I love having anybody that with like law enforcement experience. Love those type of guys because they know what the deal is and they know what they need to do. So I like that kind of, and anybody that's been in the military, it's a mindset. So it's like we're all on the same page regardless of what branch of the military we were in. So we're all kind of on that same brotherhood type of thing. And so those are the people that I like as well. I like people that are honest. I like people that are down to earth, that are humble. I don't like arrogant people. I don't like people that think they know everything. I don't ever pretend to think that I know everything because I don't. We can all learn, and we can learn from each other. And it's just if you have the right mindset, and that's a big part of it. I don't want somebody that has the victim mentality. I'm not going to have those type of people in my group because you can't count on them in a pinch. I want somebody that has that never can die, can do attitude. That's who I want.
Right on. And I agree with you on that totally. Rob Marks says, congrats to the Preppernurse1 for paying off his mortgage.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And let's see. We've got, I believe, 4 questions lined up here.
And just so everybody knows, I just got the paper in the mail yesterday for my building saying it's mine free and clear.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
Yep.
Okay, Spartan Live's got a question. Do you think these mass shootings are or could be false flag kind of things to try to take guns away?
Absolutely. I think so, 100%. I think what just happened down in Parkland, if you listen to the couple of different interviews, the one girl said that the guy was standing right next to her, the supposed shooter, they were leaving the building, and they heard gunfire, and she said, "Oh, I thought it was you." If you look at the video, they have a video where they supposedly captured him. He was unconscious, laying face down on the ground. When the cops were going up there to handcuff him, that kid was unconscious, and you can see it in the video. So, yeah, I absolutely think these are false flags. These are designed. I think they use crisis actors a lot. I think this David Hogue has been coached very, very, very well. The same thing with that other girl. They're not going to put the people out there that have a different viewpoint that doesn't go along with the agenda that they have either. So that's something to think about as well.
Oh, I agree with you there too. I think they're doing a lot of that behind the scenes, and I agree with the whole patsy mentality. They really do use a lot of patsies. It's obvious. Thinking of others has said, I am from Preppernurse1 channel. What would your group do with a body that has passed? And I'm going to let you answer that because I could give you basic answers. Okay, let me throw you in a scenario and see if you can answer that. So let's say you have a body that passes, and you or a human that passes. Now they're a body, and you don't have lime, for instance, because that's the only thing I've ever heard of doing is putting lime over it or whatever. But what if you don't have anything like that?
The best way to dispose of a body in that situation would be to burn the body, because you're going to get rid of all the toxic, nasty nonsense that's in there. You're going to want to, and it sounds terrible ahead of time, but before you would burn them, you would kind of want to, cut some spots so that you could drain some of the fluids out of there. And but the thing's burning that person would be the best way to get rid of the body, because it's like if you put that body in the ground, the way that they make people do burials now, they're in a casket and they're entrenched in a concrete tomb underground. But if you burn the body, you get rid of it. And, the person that was that person is gone, their soul, if you will. And that part is gone. All that's left is the husk of the shell. So it's like to burn that body is the best way to get rid of that, especially in an SHTF situation. You don't want to put those bodies in the ground because you're going to be dealing with contamination and those type of things. So, like I said, the best possible scenario would definitely be to burn the bodies.
Okay, I think that's good advice. That's I didn't even think about that, and here I read all these books and stuff. I didn't even think about that. I do have some breaking news coming in. I'm waiting for it to load on my phone. But Smitty had said he knows how to make things go boom. Is he in?
Tell Smitty to give me a call.
Right on. The breaking news is, I'm tweeting it here, U.S. troop removal from Korea up for talks with allies in North Korea, says Mattis. So that just came out. I just tweeted it out. And Wesley, and I'm going to mispronounce your last name, and I apologize for that. Sensinig, I believe, is something close to what it's supposed to be, says, Ed, if I may ask your opinion, how much land do you recommend for a homestead to grow your own food, etc.?
Well, here's the beauty of a homestead. I mean, you don't need a huge amount of land, because the thing is, you can always grow vertically. So a lot of people have that misconception that they think they have to have everything out on the ground, all flat, one level. But if you have a greenhouse and you want to grow vertically, so you have your plants growing up, you can get a lot more plants in. Have them like, with your viney plants, like your cucumbers and zucchini and stuff like that. If you have those plants growing up, you're gonna need a lot less room for growing. And the recommendation that I would have for anybody, if you really want to learn how to grow and stuff like that, go to some of these places that have these greenhouses. Take any kind of class that you can take with them. Volunteer to go in there and learn. Learning how, because I'm going to tell you right now, when SHTF happens, the woods are going to be hunted dry in no time at all. I'm telling you that right now. I really, truly feel that that's going to be the case. To be able to survive, you're going to have to be able to grow crops. Again, know your wild edibles and stuff like that. That's where people are going to survive. So, acre. Let me get back to the top. I got off track there. I apologize. I would say, you could get by on an acre, but if you could have 3, 4, 5, 6 acres, it's all the better. The more land that you can acquire, number one, it makes sure that people aren't real close to you. So that's helpful. And, but yeah, at least an acre, I would say the minimum would be as far as that goes.
Right. And let's see, I've got some more questions, and I'm kind of going to go a little out of order here because of their relation to a prior question. One of them from Josephine Quintella, what do you do with the fluids from the body? If you can gather that up and have that, run into something like, even, some kind of jugs or something like that, and have some place that might be more of a contaminated area, and you can get rid of them that way. That's really the only way that you could. You don't really want to pour those into the ground. I wouldn't want to unless it was like, someplace way away from where you were gardening. You could actually, if you wanted to, you could put those fluids into like a composting toilet, and stuff like that you were using. Okay. And just another comment that goes along with it, and then we'll get back in order here. Donna S. says the answer to the body question would depend on geological location, maybe his choice for where he is. Desert, near ocean, many answers change by location.
Well, absolutely. A desert, it's not going to matter. If you put him in the ground in the desert, it's not a big deal. But, or in the ocean, you put him in the ocean and the fish will just take care of everything. So yeah, would definitely depend on location, but you don't want to contaminate your soil where you're going to be at either. So those are things you got to take, into consideration.
Okay. Robin G says, I have a question. How do you feel about probiotics you can make at home, such as kefir, yogurt, and kombucha?
If you can do it, that's absolutely a good thing. They're absolutely good stuff for you, very healthy. So yeah, if you can make it at home, then definitely go for it.
Right on. And General asks, do you follow Q because you seem to be on top of the news?
Not really. I pay attention to what's going on, and I'm always looking at stuff, and I see what's happening, and I kind of put my own spin on things. What I try to do is I try to read between the lines, to find the truth in the cracks, if you will. See if we're being manipulated or what kind of games that they're playing. Because the thing is, if you're following the local regular news, you're being fed what they want you to hear, and so you're not always getting the full truth of the matter. So it's like you have to really kind of open your mind up and look at what's really what's the agenda? What are they trying to do? What's their end game? So, but no, I don't follow Q.
Right on. I did for a little bit, and then I kind of quit because I was seeing where not only inconsistencies, but where some of the things that he was saying could have been gathered from other, areas. And so I don't know. It's one of those things I always keep an open mind. So it's not that I don't pay any attention to Q, but I'm not going to put it out there as, I've seen too many inconsistent things. So I'm not saying that they are or they aren't anything in particular. I'm just saying, keep your mind open, keep your sources open, take in as much as you can, and discernment is absolutely key.
Yes.
Let's see. Rob Marks is asking best budget ammo to stack deep.
With ammo, I wouldn't. If you're going to get ammo, it depending on what you're going to get. Like if you're looking to get 7.62 times 39, like as an example, I would go with the steel. You definitely want to have your solid rounds. You don't want to go with Tula. Tula uses what is it? I'm trying to think what their covering of the ammo is. It's something different. But if you can get steel casing ammo, that's probably your better ammo to use. You want to go with your higher quality ammo. Like Tula is more of a practice ammo, is the way I would describe it. I would use that for practice. If I want something that I'm relying on, if it's life or death situation, I'm going to go with quality over quantity every day of the week.
Right on. I agree with you there on that. And I know there are a lot of people out there. I've watched a lot of different people that shoot all the time, and they say that well, you can't do that. You have to shoot what you're going to use. If you shoot a different ammo than what you're going to use in a real life situation, you're going to have different results. And I get what they're saying, but when you look at everything, most of us are going to have a lot bigger battles to face than a little difference in ammo. Most of us is going to have the fear factor alone. So, I don't think that bullet that's going to have an inch more drop than the other bullet is going to make very much of a difference when you're shaking like a leaf.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%. 100%.
I mean, most of us out there aren't like trained assassins or something, so we're going to be a little, amped up.
The thing is, it's going to be a huge, huge, huge learning curve, even for people like myself. And I'm militarily trained, so I mean, I know how to shoot and all that type of stuff. But it's a whole. But now, have I ever been in combat? No, I have not. So let me put that out there right away. I'm not trying to take anything away from any kind of combat veterans. But the thing is, when you are faced in that situation, how each one of us is going to react, it's going to definitely affect us. And it's definitely your first combat situation is going to be high stress, and it's going to be, it's going to be crazy. So, I mean, it's something that it's going to come down to, it's going to affect us no matter what. You're probably just going to be happy to survive that first encounter, and it'll get easier after that.
CB has said, I'm from Norway and prepping is not a thing here, and I haven't told anyone that I'm going to start to prep. What's the best way to convince people to start prepping or being more accepting towards it?
The best way that he can start conversations with people in that situation is he doesn't have to say that he's a prepper per se. The best way that he could do it is say to them something like this, do you keep a spare tire for your car? And if they say, well, yes, of course. Well, why do you do that? Well, because in case I get a flat tire. Okay, well, do you have insurance on your vehicle? And they're going to obviously be like, well, of course. Well, why do you have that insurance? Well, just in case, something happens to my vehicle that it's covered. So then he can kind of bring into conversations after starting conversations with those kind of things, saying, well, what do you do to prep for an emergency? And you never really want to say that you're prepping because it has such a bad connotation. So he could ask people, well, how ready are you for an emergency such as a natural disaster or something like that? And approach it that way, because I think people are going to be more accepting to it if you approach it from that angle, as opposed to say, well, why aren't you prepping? Because, like I said, unfortunately, the reputation of people that prep is that they're crazy and everything else, which is, it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. So if he approaches it that way, maybe he can get some people that way started prepping, but for the right reasons, which we should all be doing, which is for our own safety and the safety of our children. And being ready for any kind of thing, any kind of an emergency, to be able to rely on yourself and not the government.
Right on. Let's see. Spartan Live has another question. What news source do you recommend that it is at least somewhat honest? And I'm going to answer that as well.
Okay.
I would tell you that RT and Sputnik are probably the most on target, and that's from researching deep into stuff. And those are the two that I often find are completely accurate with their reporting. And a lot of people have a problem with that because they are both Russian news outlets. But go ahead. What do you think, Preppernurse1?
Well, I would say, you would want to look at different news outlets. Watch the BBC. See what they have to say. See what they're reporting. See what the people up in Canada are having to report and say. Because other outside sources outside the United States are going to give a more accurate description, a lot of times, in my opinion, of what's going on here. Our news is definitely filtered, and we're fed what we're supposed to be fed, okay? So, I mean, probably of all the news channels that are out there on TV right now, I mean, sometimes I like Fox News, I'll be honest. I watch them more than I would watch the other news channels, just because they're not as biased. They don't lean as left as a lot of these other news channels. A lot of these channels are very, very left-leaning. So, again, it's like you're going to have to listen to what's being said, regardless of whatever your source of news is, and then you need to really look at it from your own perspective and say, okay, what is their agenda? What are they trying to promote and trying to push? And then really try to read between the lines, in that aspect.
Right.
So, I mean, that's really the best advice that I could give.
Right, and that's correct. I mean, Colorado Biker Prepper had said, he was responding to me saying he disagreed. RT is heavily biased. Al Jazeera is the best, and that he has a BA in journalism. And I do agree with you. They are biased, without a doubt. But there's a difference between the opinion and the factual evidence of an article. And I never take the opinion. I always take what they have to say. And like Preppernurse was saying, I use a wide variety of different outlets when I look at something. And I match up the pieces as far as the data. Like with the situation in Syria, with the so-called chemical attack. If you match up the actual data that can be proven, there was no chemical attack. There was no chemicals used there. And that is coming from so many, just so many sources, it's unreal. And the interesting thing is you've got even the media here that is still hammering away that there were chemical weapons used. And there wasn't. There's not any signs of it, and that's coming from the OPCW. So, and you know, after doing what I do for a while, you learn real quick that you can't trust a word the white helmets say. So, you know, it kind of is what it is. Let's see here. Preppernurse1, how would you feel about getting gold and silver for SHTF or just getting into collecting precious metals?
I wouldn't store gold at all because it's too hard to get rid of. Silver is not a bad thing to have some silver on hand. I wouldn't go crazy with silver. Commodities are definitely the better thing to have because here's the biggest thing is, and I try to tell people this all the time, you can't eat precious metals. But if you have rice, beans, other things to eat, supplies that you can use that can be used for barter and trade, razor blades, soap, shampoo, those type of things, I would rather put my money into stuff that is tangible, that I can put my hands on, that I can use, that's going to be something that is going to be useful for me and my group, or something that I could use for trade. You know, silver is nice to have. I mean, I have some silver myself. I'm not going to say that I don't. I did have gold at one point, but I got rid of the gold because it was just too hard to, when you decided that you didn't want that gold anymore, there was very few ways to get rid of it. So, but silver will always be something that can be traded. I think that once SHTF happens, that definitely silver will be something that's more of a, you know, of a precious metal that's going to be very good to have. How much should you have? That's really at your own discretion. I don't have like a tremendous amount of silver. I have some, but you know, like I said, for me, I have my stuff in commodities. That's my precious metals to me, is putting stuff that's tradable, that's usable, that I can use once SHTF happens. It's going to help me keep alive.
That's right. And real quick, I'm gonna reply to Colorado Biker. He said that about news, the presentation is hugely important, you know, and that many of the media outlets, basically, they have morphed into for-profits. And that's why we aren't flashy here. That's why we don't, you know, because it's kind of one of those things that, yeah, I could dedicate a lot of time into making things look really pretty, but I'd rather put that time into research and make things really honest. So unfortunately, it's a give and take, especially when you don't have a team that you work with. You know, I'm pretty much, I do it all from one computer here. So let me see here. General's got a question for you, which is an awesome question. I am not going to forget that question. And real quick, you were talking about silver and gold. And let's see. Colorado Biker said he stockpiles small individual soaps and toiletries I get from hotels, great for barter. I want to interject something here. In general, I've got your question down so it won't be forgotten. I'm going to interject something here. When I got into vaping, electronic cigarettes, the intention behind it, because I was a smoker, and I really I wasn't convinced that I was going to necessarily quit smoking in the beginning. The reason I got into it is because I realized just how big of a space it would take me to be able to hold a year's supply worth of cigarettes. That would be a big room when you smoke 3 packs a day. So, you know, I got to thinking, wow, I can store a lot of nicotine solution and propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin and flavorings in a small amount of space. So and instantly I thought, wow, in an SHTF situation, to be able to have nicotine would be huge, because going to the 7-Eleven and buying a pack of Marlboros is no longer an option. So if I could actually supply nicotine to people, that would have put me up high on the list pretty quick. So that's something that I want to suggest to people when it comes to prepping for bartering and stuff like that. It's not just about you. If you're trying to set yourself up to be able to barter, then it's absolutely not about you. It's about other people. So learning how to make e-juice or whatever you want to call it, e-liquid, the liquid for electronic cigarettes, could absolutely put you king of the mountain. And I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
Oh, Okay, here's another one too. As anybody that follows my channel knows, I'm a tea drinker. But one of the things that I do stock up on coffee, because coffee is a huge thing. That's going to be a huge barter item in a post-event that I could take a baggie and trade a small amount of coffee for something else that I want. Well, I don't drink coffee, so I don't care if I have the coffee or not. So again, it's another fantastic barter item.
Right on. Let's see. We're stacking up questions here real quick. I'm getting them. The first one is going to be from General, and it is a question for Ed. Do you have ham radios? Are you familiar with using them?
Actually, I don't have a ham radio at the moment. I have a guy that I was talking with that lives locally. He had contacted me, and he was planning on getting me a kit together to have a ham radio and stuff like that. I actually have to call him and see how he's doing. I know his wife was having some issues, but that is definitely something that I want to have on hand here at the homestead, is some form of communication with a ham radio, even if it's not so much to talk, but to listen, to find out what's going on. Yes, that's very important. It's a good thing to have, which I do not have at this present time.
Right, and what's important is look up the rule of threes, okay? Put in Google or whatever search engine you use, because it would take a little while to go over it now, especially because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But put in amateur radio or ham radio rule of threes. That is going to be so important in that situation. It's about when to use your radio, the rule of threes, like 3 minutes. That I don't remember exactly. I'd have to look it up myself. But you'll find it. Rule of threes, either ham radio or amateur radio, and you'll find a lot of answers to that. We do have radios, but I don't have a ham license or anything like that. However, we've got the Baofeng UB5Rs, and I've got the GMRS frequencies programmed into it. So let's see. Trying to think of who that was that asked this question here. Yikes. I can't remember who asked the question. Apparently I didn't get that part. But it says, people talk about bartering, but I would be very leery to barter and put yourself at risk.
Well, you're going to have, if you're going to be doing bartering, it's going to have to be from a position of strength. If you have an area cordoned off and somebody says, I got some stuff I want to trade. Okay, if you want to come into our area and not into like the main area so that they can scout it out, if you will, you're going to say, okay, well, you make sure that they're disarmed first. So they can't even come into your territory, if you will, if they have a weapon on them. So you disarm them to begin with, and then what you're going to have to do, you're going to have an area set up where that if they have stuff to trade, that they can go to the specific area to do that trade, and then you can bring whatever you have to that area as well. But you always do it from a position of strength. You don't go into an area unarmed to do trading unless you are totally trustworthy of these people that you are going to trade with. Or if they say, oh, I'm not going to disarm, well, then you stay right here on the border, and you and you alone, and then you get whoever you want to have that to do trading with. That would be the way that I would do it. There is not any trust. You have to be very, very cautious. You have to be, in an SHTF situation, you need to be suspicious of everyone.
Right, exactly. I agree with you. Thinking of others, says Preppernurse1, women will be getting pregnant during SHTF. What do you think? Women have been getting pregnant for thousands of years. We're going to be going back to the old style of pregnancies where you're going to have a lot of midwives. And you talk about a great skill to have. If you ladies out there that are midwives that know how to do those type of things, SHTF situation happens, you go to a group and you say, listen, I'm a midwife. I can help with pregnancies. I can help with those type of things. That is going to be a very, very valuable skill, okay? You're going to have women that are going to die in childbirth. You're going to have babies that are not going to make it because we don't have the modern medicine that we had before, So those are some scary situations. You're going to have, because people are not going to stop having sex. I mean, and the thing is, it's like a lot of times in that type of a situation, you're probably going to have people having more sex
because it's a familiarity, and it's something that they know, and it's going to give them comfort. So yes, you're going to have a lot of people dealing with pregnancies. Hopefully, if you can get a doctor in your group, which, I mean, after an event, if a doctor comes along, great. But, if you can have one ahead of time, that's even better. But like I said, a midwife will be invaluable in an SHTF situation.
I agree there as well. Let's see. Smitty had asked, what about raising silkworms or keeping cotton plants?
Nothing wrong with that at all. That, again, it's like anything that you can do to make your situation better, being it, with those type of situations so that you can have silk and stuff like that, that's going to be valuable. Because here's the thing is, think about this. Let's think about 10 years after an SHTF situation. Pretty much all the resources are going to be gone, okay? But if I'm sitting over here and I have, makeup and mascara, or if I have perfume, or if I have shampoo, ladies that were around when those things were there, they're going to want those things again. So, silk would be another great thing to have, So anything that you can do to better your situation when that time comes, it's good to have.
Oh, no doubt about that. Let's see. Josephine Quintella said she makes wine to barter with. Colorado biker prepper told me a warning for Preppernurse1. Already roasted coffee only has a shelf life of 2 to 3 years before the oils in it go rancid and the sugars ferment, which you could make the wine with. And prep with green coffee beans, they have 5 to 8 years. And by the way, don't take that advice seriously. I don't know if you could make wine with that or if it'd kill you. So.
Right. No, well, tell them thank you. I did not know that, so I will definitely be looking at getting green coffee beans next time.
Right on. I appreciate that knowledge there, Colorado biker. Let's see, Becky, I wanted to real quick comment on you. I know several people that have not reversed COPD. I've got COPD as well, so I feel you there. I understand it's a nightmare. But vaping will stop it from getting worse. So, if you stop smoking and start vaping, your COPD will not progress any further. That's hugely, hugely important. Let's see. Was there... I think I seen something else, too. Or did I not? Hey, I'm caught up for a second.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's been fun keeping up.
No, that's cool. No, it's good to be busy. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. I'm loving this. And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. Just throw it in there again. General, I just seen yours. General asked, question for Ed. Are you familiar with your local, and he's got quotes, weeds and in quotes, herbs growing and how to use them for cooking and holistics?
Yes, I have a lot of information on local local medicinal plants and stuff like that. I'm actually going to be doing some videos this year as things, come on. We have a lot of stuff around the property here, a lot of stuff. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of that with people and, what to look for and what they're going to be able to be used for and stuff like that. So, yes, I do have the knowledge in that. So that it's a very, like I said, and that's why I keep telling people, get books on it, while you can get information on things. And that's another thing I'd like to just share with anybody is any information that you can get in hardcover, get it in hardcover, because there's no guarantee that your electronics are going to be working after an SHTF situation. But if you have hardcover books and pictures, and you can say, okay, let me look at this plant. I'm looking at this plant. This plant is, and then you pull your book out and you're looking, and there it is. You find it. Okay, great. This is going to be used for this. That is invaluable. Okay, but if you can know that ahead of time just by looking at that plant, going, wow, this is a such and such plant, and it can be used for this or that. That's good to know too. So yeah, I definitely know what I need to look for, and but there's definitely anybody out there, get that information now while you can and study it.
I agree. Smitty asks, how would you determine a leader or leaders?
The way you determine a leader or leaders is not somebody that says, hey, I'm in charge. It's somebody who leads by example. Leaders will present themselves, especially in an emergency situation. Some people act and some people react. And so it's that person that remains calm, that deals with the situation, that knows what, pretty much knows, like, okay, this is what we got to do. And it just happens. I think it's the best way to describe it. I mean, I don't know how to really do it. You're, in any group of people you have, like a circle of friends, you're always going to have somebody that just naturally emerges as a leader. And it's not like it's discussed and, okay, this is going to be our leader or whatever like that. It just happens naturally. And that's something that I've seen through the years. People are drawn to certain people for certain reasons. And it's something that will just happen on its own, to be honest with you. I mean, you could have somebody and say, yep, this is our leader. And then when a situation happens, they just don't act the right way. Somebody else will step up and take charge, if you will. And then people are going to look to that person as their leader.
Right on. And I think that is absolutely excellent advice, without a doubt. Don't let people walk in and take over. In fact, look for the person that's not trying to take over and just doing the work. That's who you want to lead. So,
yep.
Let's see. CB says, how much rice and beans do you need? Oh, rice. I'm sorry. How much rice and beans do you need to feed one person for a year?
Oh my goodness. There's all kinds of formulas out there online. You could just go online and you could type that in. How much rice does one person need for 1 year? And that information is there. Now, if you're a bigger person, you're going to want more than what the recommended daily value is, okay? But, it really, I mean, what you got to realize is when it comes to that, if you ate rice every day for a year, you're probably going to hate rice. So you have to not even just look at the rice, but you have to look at other things that you're going to work with that rice as well. But I don't know the exact quote of what it says per person per year, but definitely you can look that right up online. Personally, I don't even know how much rice I got at the moment. I'm probably north of 600 pounds of rice myself, just because I don't think about just myself. I'm thinking about everybody else that's going to be, with me as well. Beans, I have several different kinds of beans, and I probably have almost 500 pounds of beans stacked away. I really went nuts last year with beans. If anybody's watched my videos, I added a lot of beans last year. But, it's what you have to look at is, recommended daily use as far as what what they're saying. So I don't know the exact numbers, to be honest with you, but whatever they have, I would say double it because you just never know how many people you're going to end up helping. And, and the more you have, the better situation you're going to be.
Well, and another thing is I always see preppers talking about, you got to have this many calories per day and yada, yada. Look, I always tell people, don't do anything bare minimum. If they're saying you got to have 2,000 calories a day, you set yourself up for 4,000 calories a day, because there's a difference in a normal situation like right now, sitting in your living room and just having enough to survive. But being out there and chopping wood to be able to keep yourself warm or to cook or whatever, hunting and doing all those other activities, you're going to need more.
Yeah, you could be using 8,000 calories. Right, you're going to maybe need 8,000 calories a day.
Right, I agree. Let's see. Let's get to thinking of others. What do you think of people buying trailers you can pull with your car?
I think it's good to have, but again, if it's an EMP situation, you're not going anywhere. I think having that trailer, if you can have that trailer and have a piece of property and keep it on site on the property, I think that's a good idea. It gives you some place to go out of the weather. depending again on what part of the country you're in, and it's definitely not a bad thing to have. And so those are they're good to have. But if your game plan hinges on, okay, I'm going to hook this to my car and I'm going to drive away, but what happens now? You get stuck in traffic, in the traffic jam, and you have to abandon that vehicle. Now you are abandoning your home too, and all the stuff that you have in it. So you really have to look at the situation and what your game plan is, where you plan on going, what you plan on doing. Like again, I think having a trailer is a nice thing if you can keep it on site someplace.
I agree, and to kind of expand on that a little bit, Jen, or well, you guys in chat know her as Gangsta Giggles. She doesn't drive. She's got cerebral palsy. She can't drive. I quit driving some years ago, and so neither one of us drive. We don't have a car. We've actually got electric bicycles, and I've got a small emergency solar system and chargers and stuff like that. So I'll be able to recharge those bikes in a grid down event. That's providing my equipment still works. And we're in the process right now. We're waiting next month, and until our Google AdSense money comes in, we're going to be getting a little bike trailer to even be able to help. So you got to look at your situation. You gotta know your limitations, and you just have to build for that. And always keep in mind that you need to be able to adapt regardless of what goes on. Now, in an SHTF situation, it's no holds barred. If I need to get somewhere in a vehicle, I quit carrying any type of ID or license or anything like that. Ever since we went to the Real ID Act, I want nothing to do with it. And that's the biggest part of why I don't drive. So, in an SHTF situation, I can drive. I drove for years, and I will drive again, just to be quite honest with you. But let's see. What's that?
I agree with you 100%.
Let's see. Here's another one. Spartan Live asks, eventually people will run out of ammo. Should we stock up and train with other weapons, and which would you recommend? I got one quick answer for this before you do. Look for the blue helmets. Okay. Look for the blue helmets. You're going to find plenty of ammo. I don't think ammo is going to be as much as an issue as what people think. And the reason why is because in my mind, what's going to go down in this country, I think there's going to be a takeover attempted, and I think there's going to be an uprising. And when that happens, you're going to have ammo depots everywhere. But that's just my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I think there'll be plenty of ammo, I think, around, especially off the dead bodies. But I also think that being able to have if you know how to use a bow and arrow or a crossbow, compound bow, those type of things, I think they're great to have because it's very silent. You can dispatch somebody and nobody's going to know it, where with a gunshot, everybody in a 5-mile radius is going to know. If you have, having like a slingshot, learning with that with steel balls and stuff like that, those are smart things to have too. Any way that you can do things quietly, I think it's going to be really, really smart, especially in a post-event. You're not going to want to advertise your position unless you are absolutely forced to. If you are pinned down and there's too many people around and then you have to get into that firefight, you're going to do what you have to do. But if you can dispatch people, with that bow and arrow and nobody knows, that's a good way of doing things as well. And so, yes, I think that we definitely need to have, compound bows, crossbows. And here's the biggest thing again, and I've said this over and over and again, anything that you have that you're going to get, learn how to use it, practice with it. Practical knowledge is invaluable. So it's not like when SHTF comes and it's like, oh, I've never shot this compound bow before, let me learn now. That's not the time you want to learn. You want to learn how to do it way, way before anything happens so that, you can do what you need to do to take care of business.
I agree with you totally. I always say the wrong time to learn how to fly a plane is when you're on your way down.
Right.
Let's see. CB asked, would food be a good bartering item?
Yes, absolutely. But the thing is, you're going to want to break it down. You don't want to bring out your Mylar bag with 5 pounds of rice in it and say, well, how much do you want? Because they're going to want it all. You're going to need to break it down into smaller quantities. Whatever you're bartering for with it, but here's the thing is, don't shortchange yourself. Make sure you have enough for you and your group. But definitely, you break down into smaller bags and, barter that way.
That's a really good answer. Let's see. Thinking of others says some people need glasses to see. What do you think when I say that?
I wear glasses, so yes, I wear my glasses for distance. I think it's really important to have a couple of backup pair of glasses if you can do it. The price of glasses has come down way down because of so many people getting LASIK surgery and everything else. I've worn glasses since I was 12 years old, so I've been wearing glasses for 40 years. I need my glasses for distance. So, in a 25, 30 feet away, I can see fine. It starts to get a little blurry at that point. I used to drive without them for fun just once in a while just to see if I could do it, which I can. I just wasn't able to read the signs. So, it's having backup pairs of glasses, I think, is very, very important as well. You got to have that option because eventually your glasses are going to break. They're going to, or whatever. So having backups, there's the Navy SEAL saying is 1 is none and 2 is 1. But if you had 3 pair of backup glasses and have the one that you have on your face all the time, it makes it that much better, and it's going to last you a lot longer.
I agree. And as for the road signs, that doesn't matter. They're just suggestions. So
right, they're suggestions.
General's got a question for Ed.
Well, it's hard to read them too. It's like when I'm on my motorcycle and I'm doing about 90 miles an hour, you really don't see them that well anyway. So I'm being sarcastic.
All right, got another one. Question for Ed. I'm from your area. Just found you the other day. This is from General, by the way. How hard?
Okay.
How hard to find people of like-mindedness around here?
I've met some pretty decent people around here, to be honest with you. You're not always going to find somebody right in your neighborhood. I have one person that I'm talking with that's been out here already from Syracuse. I have somebody coming actually tomorrow here to the property that's down in Corning, New York. And I've talked to somebody else and I met with them. They were from Buffalo. So, these people that you coordinate with might not be exactly on top of you, but the thing is, if you can connect with people that are like-minded, even if they're an hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours away, that's not a bad idea to do. And even if it's just a loose affiliation, I have other people that I've spoken with that I have a loose affiliation with that, we've kind of agreed, they prep and they do their thing and I do my thing, but they didn't really want to be part of a group. But if something happens, we've agreed that if they need to get here, as long as they're bringing supplies with them, they're welcome.
Right on. And General's got another question, and I've got a little bit for it too. He asked a question for Ed. Have you watched American Blackout on YouTube? If not, I recommend it to everyone. And real quick, I want to put not only, that is an awesome movie in my opinion, and everybody needs to see that. It should be like mandatory. But I will also add, that there is a series of books, the Going Home series or the Survivalist series. I've heard it called both, from A American. That's the author title, A American. And let me tell you what, incredible. Also, William Forstchen has a series of books. The first book is 1 second after, the second book's 1 year after, and the last book's The Final Day. Those are absolute musts to read. There's 9 books in the A American series, and I can't wait for the number 10. So go ahead, Ed, what do you think?
Okay, well, I've seen the movie, and I love the movie. If you get another chance, another movie that I think is completely realistic in a post-apocalyptic event would be The Road. Anybody that hasn't seen The Road, go watch that movie as well. But yes, I have seen the other movie, American Blackout, and I think The Road is even a more realistic experience. I've read 1 Second After. Fantastic, fantastic book. I think he was right on point with how things would be. And now I need to read 1 Year After Next. I got to go grab that. But it's like, you know, there's a lot of really, really good information. And I think a lot of people underestimate the way how bad things are going to be, or they underestimate the kindness of people in an event. If you are starving and your kids are starving, trust me when I say this, folks, okay? You will do whatever is necessary to feed yourself and to feed your children. And I don't care what it is. And you can sit here and say, oh, I would never do this or I would never do that. You will do whatever is necessary. It's very easy for any of us to sit here and say, well, I would do this or I would do that while we have a full belly and our refrigerator's full and we have our cupboards got all kinds of food in them. But when those are all empty and you're starving and your kids are starving and are looking at you and are saying, Daddy, I'm starving, feed me, you are going to do whatever you have to do. And I will say this too, you know, I'm a prepper. Everybody knows I'm a prepper. I live off grid, and everybody knows that I live off grid, okay? But I will tell you this right now. When it comes to that time and SHTF happens, I will do whatever is necessary to protect me, to protect my children, and to protect the people in my group. And if you are not prepared to do that yourself, I don't want you in my group. And I know that's harsh, and that's hard to say, and people are going to say, oh, that's horrible, how could you think that way? But that is reality, because the human nature, the way that we are, I want people to take this into consideration as well. Think about the way we treat each other now with rule of law, and how horrible we are to each other as human beings with rule of law. Now, without rule of law, what are the consequences for your actions? There are none. So you need to be prepared to do whatever is necessary. And while you have that opportunity to do something about it, you need to do something about it. And it's like, and I've said many, many times to people, you know, food is going to be a big factor. Now, for me, water's not a factor because of where I am at. Now, obviously, if I lived in the desert, that would be a different story. But the biggest thing that's going to take people down is the lack of food in the long run. So having, you know, your beans and your rice stored away, having your canned goods stored away, having your dry goods stored away, having your freeze-dried goods stored away, and with whatever company you want to use. If you want to use Legacy Foods, great. If you want to use Thrive, if that's your preference, knock yourself out. If you want to use Mountain House, I don't really care which one you want to use. Now, if you come through my site and you buy Legacy Food, that helps me out, and I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be honest, it does, okay? But the thing is, the biggest thing I want anybody that's listening to take away from this is help yourselves. While you have the opportunity, help yourselves. Whatever way you want to stock up on food, water, medical supplies, whatever other supplies you need, do it while you still have time. I don't mean to get on a rant, I apologize, but that's just...
Oh, rant away. Yesterday, my monologue was brutal. Let me see. I normally don't cuss. I normally keep the swear words away. That did not happen during yesterday's monologue. It was pretty rough. So, yeah, you have no problem ranting here. Let's see. I've got another question. I do want to let you know that we are at 7:58 my time, and I can go as long as you want. Time is not an option. I was just letting you know. We do have a very important consideration that Thinking of Others has put in. How about the children in our local orphanage?
You know, that's a tough call. While we're on that note, what about our elderly in our nursing homes? What about our mentally retarded people in group homes? You know, what happens to them? I mean, the reality is, unfortunately, there's going to be casualties in a post-event. And as my ex-wife used to say, it was kind of a joke in the family. She used to say, you can't save them all, Hasselhoff. You know, from the show Baywatch, you can't save everybody. That, unfortunately, is a reality. You cannot save everybody. You can do the best you can. realistically, I'm a realist. I realize that it is going to be very, very brutal. It's going to be a very, very hard world once we get to that point. And, the unprepared are going to suffer the consequences. And it's very sad to say, but you have to look at things as a harsh reality. If you give away some of your food to help somebody, and let's say you gave one meal, you gave them one meal, okay, and then you sent them on their way, they're probably going to be back, and they're going to be back with help, looking for more. That's the reality. The reality is that one meal is not going to save that person's life when it could save somebody in your group. If you are prepared and you are ready, and if you are prepared to help other people, that's fantastic too, okay? I always prep for way more than I think I'm going to need because I want to try to help people if I can. But that's going to basically be on an individual by individual basis. So, I know she's probably not going to like the answer to that question, but the reality is there's going to be casualties, and there's nothing we can do about it. You have to look at the big picture, and the big picture is your survival and your group's survival. That's the big picture.
Right on, I agree. Rob wants to know what the winning lottery numbers for Powerball are.
You know what? If I knew, I would be winning them right now, writing it down and ready to go, because both of the jackpots, Mega's up there, I think it's at 111 tonight, and Powers, I think, at 147. I could do a lot of really good preps with that kind of money.
Yeah, you could. Wow. And talk about bunkers.
Oh, my God, yeah. I would have an underground complex like you would not believe.
I've got a question.
They would be like, what? They'd be like, what did Ed spend $5 million on?
I've got a kind of a comment/question. So I've seen where people are buying up these old missile silos now, and a lot of them are actually turning them into like prepper condominiums. Now, I think personally, I think it's a horrible idea because probably your biggest enemy knows already where you're at and every single little detail about that structure. Want to know your thoughts on it.
Well, you're right. The government already knows all the intimate details of those silos, and I honestly in an SHTF situation, I know that the rich are planning on going. They're paying like $1 million for a place there, so they have a tremendous amount of food and stuff like that. Once they seal themselves in, let's say they seal themselves in, you better have other ways to get out of there. And if you don't, you could be, encasing yourself in your own tomb. I don't, those things that's a very difficult situation to say, because you're talking about a group of people that are used to being waited on, that are not going to be handy, they're not going to be helpful. And when they've paid their money for these places, they're going to expect to continue to be waited on. And I think that they're going to be in for a really rude awakening once an SHTF situation happens, because I think the people guarding those places are going to be the people that are going to be in charge, and they're basically going to say, okay, now it's time to get off your butt and get down here to the grow rooms because there's work to do. And I think that's going to be the rude awakening for a lot of these people. I think that they believe that they're just going to sit back and relax down in these bunkers and that they're going to be fine, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
Oh, I agree with you totally. I think... well, I know you're not a very religious person. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. But, referring to the Bible says what's going to happen to them. And it specifically talks about those that, it talks about them directly.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's just those are not good situations. You want to be with people that are, like I said, I would rather be... Here's the biggest thing, and the reason that I prep, and this is why I tell other people to prep. I always tell people that good people need to survive what's coming. Not just the power elite, just not the rich, not the people that can afford to have whatever they want to have. The rest of us, that they're going to basically leave to feed to the wolves, if you will. We need to be watching out for each other, and we need to be connecting with each other now and getting ready.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And the thing of it is, it's like where I live, this is my hometown. I've lived here ever since I was 5 years old. And I I don't actively have a lot of conversations with people in town about an SHTF situation. However, there are enough individuals in town that know that I have been in this mindset for quite some time. And I know these individuals are doing things on their own to prepare. And, it's kind of one of those things to where we don't talk about it, but we know. And I have a feeling when an event happens, because I'm with you on that. It's not a matter of if, it's when. I think it's going to be a nice little group that comes together relatively quick.
Well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in small towns, and this is my opinion on this topic. I think these small towns are going to close off their town, and they're going to band together, because like the small town that's not that far from where I live, I think they'll close up their borders, and I think everybody knows everybody, and it's one of that small town mentality, and that's who they're going to watch out for, because they're going to realize really, really quickly that they need to watch out for each other and protect each other. And I think that's what's going to happen in small towns all across America, okay? Your cities, you couldn't give me a freaking condo in the city and say it's yours for free, you can have it. I don't want it. That's the last place I would want to be, because I just think that it's a nightmare waiting to happen. You have a lot of people in those cities that have zero skills, no idea what to do, and it's just going to be a nightmare to be in those places. If you can be away from there and, integrate yourself into that small town community and get to know people, and, that's definitely the way to go. And I'm going to tell you what, realistically, and I catch some crap for being, oh, you're just a hillbilly that lives up in the hills. Well, you know what? I'd rather be this hillbilly that lives up in the hills, because it's peaceful, it's relaxing, I don't have the stress that I used to have. I love it where I'm at. I absolutely love it where I'm at. And it's like right now, I don't know if you guys can hear in the background, the frogs are going over in the pond, which is not that far away. And it's just, it's quiet. It's peaceful. It's just absolutely wonderful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's see. Oh, Rob Marks has a question. What do you think about the people flocking to the Ozarks to join groups like Pastor Joe Fox? I want to make a comment there before Prepper Nurse answers. My concern about the Ozarks is, and Jesse Ventura did an episode on this, and other people have talked about it. There is a building, and I'm going to call it a building, not a house, that has been constructed there in the Ozarks. Now, this thing can withstand pretty close to a direct nuclear blast. Okay, and it has been from several sources to me that is where the powers that be, the elite, so to speak, that is where they are going to headquarter. Now, it's also been talked about the tunnel systems that go all throughout the country that link to that area. So you can dig into all this information and find out, but I'm going to, as far as I would say on that subject, I would stay as far away from there as possible, because when SHTF happens, they're going to be clearing the area of anyone other than them. But that's my thoughts. What do you think, Prepper Nurse?
The Ozarks are a huge area. It's a huge, huge area, and it's a good area to a degree for some things, but you don't necessarily have to go to the Ozarks. There's a lot of other places that you can go. Like if you are in New York, a good example, if you get up into the Catskill Mountains, up where it's basically almost that entire area is you can't really there's camps and stuff up in that area. But it's a higher elevation up there as well, and I'm trying to think. Like you get up by where Fort Drum, up in that area, which is north of Syracuse. It's an hour and a half north of Syracuse. All up and through that whole area up there. That's another great area because it's all woods up there. It's very isolated. A lot of lakes up there. A lot of fish and stuff like that for people that have those skills. Because those are the type of places. If you can get realistically, okay, this is realistic. You get yourself 40 to 50 miles away from a major population area like Rochester. Okay, Rochester, New York, has 1 million people in the greater Rochester area. Okay, that's Rochester, Greece, Victor, all around there, Irondequoit, Webster, all that whole area up through there, okay? There's 1 million people up in that area. Well, realistically, by the time they're done feeding on each other in that area, that population of people is going to be greatly reduced. And as they work their way out, they're going to meet resistance all along the way, okay? So the farther out away from those type of places that you are, the better chances of your survival are going to be. So that is real important. It's like for me, for where I picked my property, I picked high elevation for a reason. I picked the area that I'm at for a reason. Like people say, oh my God, your winters are horrible up there. Well, I picked it up here. Number one, I needed to stay in New York because of my kids, because I could have taken my kids out of state and moved out of state, but I couldn't do that to them because of their mother. And I wouldn't do that to them, because that's still their mother and they still need to see her and spend time with her. So that was one reason, so that's the main reason, to be honest with you. But the thing is, when SHTF happens, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen on a nice beautiful summer day, it could be in the middle of winter. Well, the advantage that I have up here being in the middle of winter is everybody else in my area where I live, everybody's got a wood stove. Everybody heats with wood. We'll work together up here and we'll survive. People are not going to wander out, and if they do, they're going to die because of the cold temperatures and stuff like that. So you're not going to have a lot of people moving about, and by the time the spring comes, the numbers are going to be such greatly reduced that we're going to have that advantage in that way too. Just like if something happens in the South in the summertime, let's say it's in the summertime, that heat is going to kill so many people because they're not used to not going from air conditioning to air conditioning. There's not going to be any air conditioning anymore. So every place has its advantage. The South has a better, longer growing season, and I get that. But that's where, with getting greenhouses up here at the property and getting those in place and start working with those, that's going to help extend my growing season up here.
Right. A couple of really good questions has come up. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. I don't think I did. Josephine Quintella asks, small towns and villages have their druggies that will be doing anything to get a fix. Do we shoot them?
Absolutely. No question in my mind. I think that people like that will be dispatched of very, very quickly. Once they've represented themselves as a threat, I think that there's enough good people out there that would take them out instantly. I know that if somebody came up here trying to steal drugs or something like that, I'm not going to tolerate it, and I wouldn't expect other people are going to tolerate it either. I think that those type of people will cause some trouble initially, but I think that they will be dispatched very, very quickly.
I agree. I agree totally, and it's a harsh thing, but it is what it is. Ashley,
like I said earlier, when that time comes, we're going to have to face a hard reality. And the hard reality is not everybody's going to survive. Not everybody deserves to survive. And that sounds horrible to say it like that. But the thing is, there's a certain element of people that will be taken care of because they don't deserve to be here.
Right. I agree. And Ashley 842 has a extremely good question, and I will answer it, and I'll let Preppernurse1 answer it as well. She asks, if you have a place to go in an SHTF situation, how long should you wait to start to travel there? Immediately, or wait a day or so to avoid the immediate craziness? Now, this is what I'm going to answer with that. For one, it depends on the situation. If it's the government, all right, if it's the government involved in it, I'm going to tell you right now, you've got 45 minutes to clear any exits and entryways to an interstate, okay, because they will have it blocked off. Per the United Nations, many towns, including the one that I'm speaking to you from, are installing roundabouts. Now, they're not doing this just because it sounds cool. They're doing this because a roundabout is very easy to block off. Okay, it's not going to be something, you can't speed up to it because they're going to have those big barricades in the way. So you can't just go flying up to it and jump the center of the roundabout. You'll have to travel around the roundabout. Well, you can't get around when I forget what they call them, what the military calls them, but when you have these barriers that are stacked, one on one side of the road, the other on the other side of the road, and you got to snake through it, you're not going to fly through there. And I guarantee you they will shut you down before you get through it. So to answer that, you want out immediately. I mean, like, that's the idea behind why you have a bug out bag, so you can grab it and go. But, you know, again, different situations or different things. You know, you may not even be talking about an event like that. You could be talking about a forest fire or a hurricane or anything like that. So, you know, different situation, different areas apply for different things. But what do you think on that, Prepper Nurse?
My thing is, and I've said this in videos before, you're really going to have to get to whatever location that you need to get to, you're going to have 72 hours maximum. After 72 hours, forget about even trying to leave, okay? My thing is, the first sign of trouble, get out then. And listen to your gut, folks. That's number one, too. If your gut says, we need to get out of here now, get out of there now. Now, here's another thing I was going to talk to you, and Mike kind of brought up a good point about this. Stay off the highways. Have different routes in which to get to your bug-out retreat. And when I say different routes, 3, 4 different mapped-out routes that you have driven, that you have with not with your map quest, but with a regular map, how to get there. 3 or 4 different ways to get to your destination, okay? So then this way, you stay off the highways, because I think they're going to be bottlenecked. I think people are going to be they're going to be at a standstill. So you want to take as many back roads as you possibly can. You're going to have a better chance of getting to where you want to get to, taking those back roads. But the sooner you do it, the better, because after 72 hours, if you're thinking about it still at that point, it's too late.
Right. I agree with you totally. Colorado Biker Prepper has a question. Would Preppernurse1 be willing to do a live hangout with me on my YouTube channel sometime in the near future?
Absolutely. Tell them to send me an email to preppernurse1.com. I'm sorry, preppernurse1@yahoo.com. Sorry about that. Send me an email there, and you know, give me your information. I'll call you, and we can set up a time, and we'll figure that out. I definitely would do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, the response from tonight is absolutely incredible. The amount of information that's being provided is absolutely incredible. This is something that I think we ought to do a little more often.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll definitely be back on your show. Absolutely be back on your show anytime. You know, we can do, you know, if we set it up to maybe do it once every couple of weeks, just have a night picked out, like a Friday night or something like that. We can sit down and do a talk. Friday or Saturday night's probably a good night for most people, I think, because they don't have to go to work the next day. So it's probably a good time to do it. So, absolutely.
Hey, we have somebody that just joined in. We were talking about you earlier, Bizza Rizza Gizza. We in the chat we were talking about you. He said, "Hey,
yeah, you tell him, dude, you better give me a call. You better, if you don't have my number, send me another email. Give me whatever number you're using now, because I'm not even sure what you're using. Give me a call. We actually need to talk." So he's a good man. Good man. I've met him. He's been out to my place. He's a very good man.
We have thoroughly enjoyed his videos.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to get back on making his videos again too.
Right on. I mean, those are just absolutely awesome. I can't say that enough. They really were. Let's see. CB's got a question. Preppernurse1, what is the most likely SHTF scenario taken into consideration what's happening in the world currently? And,
it'll be one of two things, in my opinion. In my opinion, it'll be one of two things. The most likely scenarios would be either the collapse of the dollar, or it'll be a grid down situation. Might not necessarily be from an EMP, but if I was an enemy of the United States and I really wanted to hurt the United States, I would be taking this grid down, because we will kill each other off in droves if the grid is down.
Right.
That's how I would do it.
I agree. And Bizzarizzagiza said, "Oh, okay, I will, buddy." And we've got a caller on the line, so let's go ahead and.
Oh, okay, great.
Area code 740. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Ed. Prepper Granny here from Ohio. what are your thoughts on these new harvest boxes that the government's going to be sending out in place of food stamps to people? Do you think that's going to cause a lot of unrest? And could that possibly be the reason that they bring on martial law?
I think that there's going to be resistance to it, of course, because people are used to what they're used to. I think a lot of these people have an option. If they don't want to have that, if they don't want to do that, then go get a job. Get off the system. I think it's being done on purpose to push people away from being on the system. They're trying to make it not as convenient. There's going to be some resistance to that, and people are going to fight it. Absolutely. But I don't think that will end up causing any kind of a martial law situation, because not enough people. I mean, you're going to have strife from it. Don't get me wrong, and you're going to have people that are going to be up in arms. And here's the thing: is a lot of these type of people that are on those type of assistance, they're very good at screaming and yelling and complaining, but they do nothing about it. Okay. And in the end, they'll take it because that's what they're used to doing. I really don't see that end up being a cause for any kind of a martial law or something like that. They're going to complain. They're going to say how it's unfair, how they're being unjustly treated, but they're going to do absolutely nothing about it, and they're going to take their boxes in the end. To me, it's like I think that welfare should be a temporary program to get people that are able to go back to work. Not I know here in New York, they changed things a few years back where if you came on the system with 4 kids, that's what you're getting paid for. You're not going to get paid for any more that you have after that. Because before, it used to be an incentive that they'd get on welfare and they just keep banging out kids. And, and they would just continue to do more and more. And then they would teach their kids the same thing. So then their kids would have kids and do the same exact thing. Which, I think that the government in some ways is trying to break that cycle, which I think is a good thing. People need to, here's the thing. I mean, I know from my own, when I got done with nursing school, okay, and I took my boards and I got my license and okay, now I'm a nurse. At that point in my life, I was 29 years old, and I remember saying to myself, okay, now I'm actually something. I'm actually a productive member of society. The self-worth that I had at that point, it made me feel really, really good. And I think if more people had that self-worth for whatever they're doing, I think that that's important, and I think everybody should strive for that.
I completely agree.
So how are things up in your neck of the woods?
Not been too bad. A little bit misty, rainy, a little bit, but it's getting better. We've gotten the garden somewhat tilled. We're trying to get ready to start planting. But other than that, it's not been too bad. Kind of like up there, one day cold, one day warm, next day rain, next day warm.
Right. Yeah, we never know what we're going to get. Well, the weather's finally starting to turn better, which is good.
Yeah. Another question I have is, where's the best place to look into as far as if you're wanting to start up with solar?
And I mentioned this earlier to another caller. If you want to really talk to somebody that's super, super knowledgeable about solar, go talk to Bill and Rosa. Look up the channel, Bill and Rosa Off Grid, okay? Shoot Bill an email. Say, listen, Preppernurse1 said that I should talk to you. He is very, very knowledgeable, really, really helpful. He will tell you exactly what you should do and how you should do it. I could do the same thing if you wanted, if you wanted to talk to me privately, as well. But like I said, he was my go-to guy when I got started, and he's been doing it longer than I have. Very, very smart man, very, very humble man, I'll be honest with you. And, he really helped me a lot here with getting going with what I had here. Because, I started out with a 12-volt system with 3 solar panels. So, it's been a process.
All right. Well, I'll be watching videos and looking forward to new ones coming out.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for watching.
All right, hon. Thanks.
All righty, and I don't see any more. Did you see any more questions? I was up shutting windows, so.
Well, we should probably cut this off now because it's almost 9:30.
Alrighty. Yeah, we'll have we'll have to work out something and definitely do this again, because man, the information is really getting spread.
That's good. And I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed talking with everybody. It's been real fun.
Oh, so have I. This is awesome. So so I want to thank you for coming, and before you get out of here, I want to remind everybody that you've got your website up, Preppernurse1.com. He's an authorized reseller of legacy foods, and I'll tell you what, we had a sample of the stroganoff, and that stuff is absolutely incredible. He's got all that up on his website along with merchandise, and there's a lot more to come there.
Yeah, we will definitely be adding a lot more merchandise in the future. The website's brand new, and I'm real excited that we got it up, and it's very exciting. And so anybody want to come over and check it out, feel free. If anybody's looking, just so you guys know, while we're talking like this, if anybody's looking to make a larger purchase with Legacy Foods, please contact me privately first. I can maybe help you out a little bit so you don't have to pay as much. Just so you know, okay? So I'm willing to work with people. I want to help. Like I said, I like to help people. So I appreciate Mike having me on here on the Watchman tonight. Very, very awesome. Nice talking to everybody. Thank you for all the comments and the questions. And it's nice talking with everybody, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the support that everybody has given me on the channel. Like I said, it's very, very humbling, and it's very, very appreciated. So thank you all very much.
And thank you for taking the time. This was really, really awesome. I was just kind of going through the pages here, and I've got a lot more legacy stuff to add too, just so everybody knows. There's a lot more, whether it's the merchandise side or whether it's the legacy, the food side. There's a lot more to go. So. Alrighty, so again, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate your answers to the questions, and I appreciate everything that you do. I always have.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Alrighty, we'll talk to you later. You have a good night.
Yes, you too. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Alrighty, you get the wonderful elevator music if nobody else is on the line. So, anyway, wow, that was an incredible show. We're definitely going to have to arrange something to do that again and more often. That was amazing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close up here tonight. If you're new here, and I know a lot of you are, we do quite a bit of a different news show, and we do play a lot of other news content from other creators and stuff like that. It's pretty much what we do. But one thing that we promise is integrity and honesty, and that is something that we absolutely promise. Go ahead and answer. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. And, well, maybe we'll see you tomorrow for the news at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. So, as I always say at the end of the show, God bless you all. We love you all, and be one with your spirit. Have a good night, folks.